This is my dad. His name's Menno. He was born and raised in a small town in Manitoba. And when he was 21 years old, my dad moved to the Congo. He was stationed with an NGO that worked with local farmers, teachers, that sort of thing. This is what he looked like back then. So anyways, when my dad was there, he took a trip around East Africa, through Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. Now this trip was pretty significant for my dad. It was the first time he had ever been away from home. It completely opened up his worldview, and it brought him in contact with cultures and perspectives that were completely different than his own. Basically, it started to reshape his identity. A couple years later, my dad returned to the Congo with my mom, and my older brother was born there. A few years after that, our whole family moved to Zambia. That's me. Later on, we moved to Sudan, and once the kids moved out, my parents lived in Kenya for a few years. So basically, the African continent has dominated my dad's life for the past 40 years. And it all comes back to that first trip he took when he was 21 years old. So here's what I want to do. I want to go on a journey with my dad, retracing the steps of that first trip. We're going to go through Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. My dad has over 40 years of experience on the African continent, as a single man, as a husband, and as a father. And I want to learn what those experiences have meant to him, and how this continent has affected him throughout the years. This is Memoirs of My Father's Africa. Our journey begins in the town of Chingola in northern Zambia. Chingola is a mining town, and my dad first came here in 1970 when he caught a ride with a gravel truck across the Congo-Zambia border. My dad hasn't been back here since, so his memories of Chingola are 47 years old. All right, good morning from Chingola. It's about,
5:10.
5:10 in the morning. Our bus leaves at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, so we're going to try to get some filming done. It's just getting light out, so we're going to try to get some filming done right now so we can catch our bus.
I arrived at the border from Congo. Okay? I was in Lubumbashi. I had taken the train to Lubumbashi. I got across the border at a place called Chola, and that's not too far from here. And then I took what they called in those days an emergency taxi from Chola through Chingola to Kitwe, where I caught the train. So I didn't really spend a lot of time right here in Chingola. Yeah. Chingola. Yeah. Well, when I was here first, there was still it still reflected a bit of a colonial era where Europeans and Africans didn't live in the same areas. Now it's much more integrated. Some things are a little bit more run down, but I noticed there's a fair amount of work has gone on streets and so on. But when you get down into the heart of the city, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of physical activity, a lot of buying and selling. People are hustling, trying to make a living, and so it looks good to me. Yeah.
From Chingola, we hop on a bus and make our way south to Lusaka. This takes us through the Copperbelt region of northern Zambia, and we really get a sense of the role that mining plays in this country's economy. All right, we got ourselves a box of Eat Some More biscuits. So we're gonna do a little taste test. Bakers, Eat Some More biscuits. You wanna grab two of those? Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink. Nice. Now, is that like shortbread or something? Or?
Yeah.
It seems like it's a decent breakfast supplement.
This will be a breakfast, coffee break, animal lunch today.
What would you give that out of 10?
8 3/4.
8 3/4. That's a high score. Wow, you really like these.
I'm hungry.
I'd probably give it a
7.
maybe a 7. Yeah, maybe a 7 out of 10. Yeah, but they're definitely good. If you're on a trip or you're on a bus ride through Zambia, I'd probably recommend
Eat some more biscuits.
Eat Some More biscuits. My dad barely stayed in Lusaka during his original trip, but 19 years later, he came back here with his wife and 3 kids. We lived here for 6 years, and most of the memories of my childhood are from this house in Lusaka, this yard.
This was always a very special place to us. We did a lot of traveling within Zambia and also in Southern Africa, and it was always a bit of a haven to come back to. Our kids really loved this yard, had good years here. They had some good friends. They played their imaginary kind of games on this yard. There were 3 dogs that they were actually afraid of before we got here, but it took probably half a day and then they were best of friends. The years here were real family years because we had 3 children. They were with us here. I started out initially as a single fellow in Africa, and then later Lyd and I were married without children. But these were years that all 5 of us experienced together. So we all 5 we and our children, we have this in common: the years here in Zambia. You had lots of imagination. You had a friend by the name of Wes, and you and Wes would be digging holes. Sometimes I'd look out there and I'd see 2 white heads sticking out of the ground, and you had dug this massive hole, and you were, in your minds, you were doing something. I'm not sure what, trench warfare, what was it? You lived here, but your mind was sometimes on another plane somewhere, enjoying imaginary games with your friend. And these are, of course, your favorite plants. Right? You guys used to come into the house all blue from eating mulberries. Sweet. Have a mulberry, Paul. Well, enough. Hi there, dog. Hi there, dog. This is the kind of dog you want to be friends with. If you're not friends with him, not good. This place and this work and this environment and with our 3 children, it fulfilled so many of those dreams and expectations and desires that I had and that Lydia and I both had. We were in a very good place in our lives. We were healthy, we were energetic, we loved life. We had been through some real challenges. We had worked at farming, but it was difficult, and so this was when this particular assignment came available, it was like a dream come true.
From there, we head to a local market to pick up a few snacks for the next leg of our journey.
No, that's so much. Too much. Vem pra cá. Vou você aqui. Vou você vídeo. Vou você vídeo. Jangan si Lenggala, wayibi Lenggala. Nyanja. Nyanja basi. Na Bemba. Na Bemba. Mshani mkwani. Wino mlishani. Watoto la mkwani.
All right, we got a couple products. What did we get at the market here?
Oh, we got bananas. We got way more than we need, but hey, we had fun. Bananas, oranges, and apple mochi.
And how many languages did you speak back there?
Just a couple.
From Lusaka, we grab another bus and head south to Livingstone on the Zambia-Zimbabwe border. Now we're south of the mining country, and the landscape is dotted with small farms and scrub brush. All right, we got ourselves a nice Zambian banana. I'm gonna give it a little taste. moist. You want to open that up? All right. Locally grown bananas. Cheers.
Yeah, good.
That's the banana.
Yeah. Banana back to farm.
Yeah. Yeah?
Okay.
It's moist, sweet.
And it's ever so refreshing.
Yeah. By now, we're about a week into our trip, and there's a little bit of friction forming between me and my dad. So we decide to sit down and talk about it a little bit. When you travel, especially kind of the way we're traveling,
You're talking, I'm eating.
Yeah, well, not always. I mean, that's one of the things, is that you got some long days on buses, some long periods in between kind of full meals, early mornings. You get tired. Sometimes if you're hungry or you're tired, you get a little bit irritated, and things aren't always peachy 100% of the time, right?
I'm out.
So I think, yeah, we're kind of entering into that time when I think the veneer and excitement of the beginning of the trip we're moving into the second stage of the trip, where it's more, this is life. This is going to be life for the next bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're starting to sometimes get on each other's nerves a little bit.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna try to be proactive, I guess, about trying to get enough sleep. I guess I gotta try to not push my dad too hard, and
Good idea.
and he's probably gotta try to do some things as well.
Such as?
Figure it out. I don't know. But no, I mean, all that is to say is that we want to try to figure out how can we continue this trip and get through it, and be able to enjoy the times we're enjoying, and have disagreements as well.
Yeah.
Next, we crossed the border into Zimbabwe to visit Victoria Falls. My dad came here on his original trip in 1970, and he says that crossing the border into Zimbabwe at that time was like stepping into another world. Vic Falls is one of those places that's difficult to describe. Locally, it's known as Mosiotunya, which means the smoke that thunders. I mean, it's true. You hear the falls long before you ever see them.
Well, I came by train to Livingstone, and from there I caught some kind of public transport to here, and you didn't have to pay anything. You just walked over to the falls and had a look. And then I came across the bridge, walking across, baboons walking beside me, and then I had a look at these falls, and it was really quite incredible. There were no tourists. I was mostly by myself, and able to enjoy this incredible natural sight.
What's it like being back here now?
Oh, it's very nice. I didn't know if we'd come back again. It's been nice every time I've come. It hasn't changed, in some ways it hasn't changed much. They haven't built it up too much, and that's nice. Like the natural look of the falls. Politics, economics, all that changes. Sometimes countries are on the up, sometimes on the down, but this is pretty constant here. Life goes on, water keeps flowing, heading to the Indian Ocean.
Next, we head to the Victoria Falls Hotel, which is the oldest hotel in town. My dad came here for a bite to eat in 1970, and he says that stepping into this place for the first time was an incredibly surreal experience. You see, Zimbabwe was still under the control of the white upper class at that time, so segregation was in full effect. My dad had just spent a year living in the Congo, which was more or less an integrated society. So when he first stepped into this old colonial establishment kept in perfect condition, it was a bit of a shock to his system.
Do you remember the first time that you came here?
First time I came here was in 1970. I had come from Congo, across Zambia, and then across the bridge, and then I caught a ride to town, and somehow the guy probably suggested, oh, there's a nice meal to be had in here. When I came here for lunch, it was a very different environment than I was used to in Congo.
Yeah.
Congo was a very integrated society. Here, it was not that way. The dining room I walked into had these massive, high, white pillars. All the serving staff were indigenous people.
Yeah.
All the people eating were having to be Caucasian. I wasn't used to that kind of environment. It was a very, they didn't call it apartheid here, but it was, I'd say, British style apartheid.
Sure.
Yeah. Initially, first time here, I really liked what I saw after having seen the plight of so many poor people in Congo.
Yeah.
I didn't like what I saw in terms of who owns all the wealth, but that in fact people were basically getting an education.
Yeah.
People had good health care.
Yeah.
There was food available, and there were jobs available. The countries, the industry was working. Certainly there were some issues that needed to be worked with regards to ownership.
Yeah.
That happened to some extent when Mugabe, when independence came, worked well for some years, maybe 20 years, and then things have kind of imploded from there. And so it's a bit sad to see what has happened to the country since then.
Yeah.
Not in this particular yard. Everything here looks hunky-dory.
Yeah.
From Victoria Falls, we head south towards Bulawayo, which is the second largest city in Zimbabwe. The landscape along the way is more or less like southern Zambia. Small farms, scrub brush. We take a little pit stop in the middle of nowhere and grab some snacks.
All right, we got ourselves here a bag of smoked beef Freemax crisps. We're gonna give it a try. Cheers. How do you like that? Not so good.
Not a real crisp, man.
Not a crisp, man.
No.
What would you give that 1 out of 10?
Maybe 4.
4 out of 10.
If anything, 3.5.
I'd say, I mean, it basically tastes like, these basically kind of taste like barbecue chips. I don't know, so if you like barbecue chips, I'd say go for them. Yeah, maybe for me it's like a 7 out of 10. I like a good crisp, a good chip.
Thank you.
So, Freemax smoky beef crisps.
A couple hours later, we arrive in Bulawayo. Now, Bulawayo is one of those cities built with a vision. It's got wide avenues, roundabouts with statues in the middle, and beautiful old colonial buildings. When my dad first came here, he was on foot, so he just walked around the whole city. And he stumbled his way into a park at the center of town.
I basically came here and walked all over the city, and I happened on this park. And it was incredible coming out of the middle of Congo and seeing a park. And now, of course, it looks very different, but in those days it was pristine. It was just immaculate, like an English garden, and kind of blew me away. Didn't know that such a thing could exist in the middle of Africa somewhere. Well, it's kind of obvious in some ways that these parks and so on were built by certain people for certain people. The importance of these parks isn't quite as high. There isn't money, I guess, for this kind to maintain. On the other side of the road, the park looks a bit more maintained, but this part here, it doesn't look that well maintained. It's kind of going back to its original state, maybe. Yeah, it's hard for me to separate what I see with what we know has been going on politically and economically in this country. We do know there's incredible disparity here. We do know that there's a certain ruling class and a business class that have an obscene amount of wealth. We know that the situation for the masses is not that great. Healthcare, education have gone down. People have left the country in throngs to try to make a living in neighboring countries, even overseas. It's been an incredible brain drain in this country. Zimbabwe was a leader in the region at one time. They've lost that. By now they're a recipient of aid. This park can be easily fixed up. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
If people deem it important, if government deems it important, but yeah, we know even in our own country, this is discretionary spending. This is not the important thing. The most important part of life here in Zimbabwe, the most important is that everybody has good healthcare, education, and food. Those are the big ones.
All right, we had a good morning of filming. I think it's time for a coffee break. Good.
Next, we make our way to the Kami ruins, just outside of Bulawayo. This ruined city was once the capital of the Torwa dynasty, a great civilization that existed from the 15th to 17th centuries. This is an example of a civilization that rose and fell before Europeans ever set foot in this part of Africa. From the ruins, we head back into Bulawayo, and on the way we ask our taxi driver a couple questions about life in Zimbabwe.
So is life better now than 20 years ago, or is it more difficult?
Life now.
Yeah.
Okay, no say better now. Life is not better now.
No?
Because we have so many people who are not working.
Oh, yeah.
Are not employed.
Right.
Comparing to 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
People would go to work.
Yeah.
And now people are formally employed.
Yeah, formally employed.
Formally employed.
What about the taxi business? You have lots of people. You have many customers.
I cannot say we have so many customers. We don't have so many customers just because people are not working.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find so many customers.
Yeah.
You will find a customer here and there.
Yeah.
Unless you have your original customers.
Your own clients.
Clients. People are not working, so
Yeah.
we have less customers.
The next leg of our journey takes us east by air from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe to Mount Mulanje in Malawi. In 1970, my dad was in Malawi just looking for something to do. Someone told him there was a mountain, so we decided to climb it. All right, we made it up the mountain.
Now we've got to take a little break because it's
Buddha.
it's raining.
Oh yeah.
Mountains kind of attract you a little bit. What's about?
Yeah, I don't know. I always like to climb mountains to get up and have a nice view over
You might take a step just there.
over the area. You're always trying to lead me to the edge here.
Well, there's a peak behind you. I get in.
Precipice, yeah, and it's too bad we lost him, but boy, we sure got the peak.
Yeah. So you're about to fall over.
Well, my knees are tired, and so I don't want to be right at the edge.
Sorry, you were saying mountains kind of attract you.
Yeah.
What's it like to climb this mountain now, all these years later?
What's it like to be here now? It's great to share this with you. Great to be back here again. Yeah, the situation is all kind of different, you know. At that time I was all by myself. And roughing it quite a bit more than now. But to get up here, there's only one way, and you expend the same, a certain amount of energy.
Yeah.
I'm glad that at now almost 3 times the age of when I came up here first, I'm still able to do it. Knees are reminding me a bit of their tiredness, but yeah, it feels good. When you're in a mountain like this with the clouds going between the valleys, between the peaks, it's very serene. And just on the other side of that, now it's covered, but on the other side of that peak out there, we saw from a distance, there's a beautiful waterfall coming right down the side of that mountain. It's breathtaking beauty, that's what there is. And it's not like crawling with tourists, just very few people have seen this.
After making our way down the mountain, we hop on another plane and head north to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Dar is a city on the Indian Ocean, so its history and culture has really been influenced by Middle Eastern and Indian merchants throughout the years. This is my first trip to Dar es Salaam, but my dad has been here a bunch of times. And when he first came here in 1970, it was really his first introduction to Arab and Swahili culture.
Good morning from Dar es Salaam. How'd you sleep last night?
Pretty good.
Good. So today we're gonna go check out the city, right?
Yeah, check out the city and see the Indian Ocean.
All right, let's do it.
I flew from Blantyre to Dar.
Yeah.
And I actually only spent time in Dar. I didn't come out on the beach much. I went to the ocean, but I didn't spend time far out of Dar because I was basically on foot. Well, I noticed there was a different kind of culture here. I was used to more Central Africa, of course, being in Congo. Here, I noticed a real mixture of African culture and Arabic. Very strong Islamic influence. People had come here originally from Yemen and so on. And it was very noticeable that there was a different Swahili language is a mixture of Bantu languages and Arabic.
Yeah.
Food was different. Yeah, it was a new experience, a new culture that I was facing and seeing here. Well, I wasn't here very long, so it was new. It was strange. It would have taken me a bit longer to understand this culture than for that little bit of time I was here. I was just maybe a night or two, and then I headed inland. Yeah, I've been to Dar quite a few times after. When I worked with a different NGO, we had a partner in Dodoma, which is 6 hours into the country.
You could pull your hat a little bit up.
I can hardly see, Paul, because that sun is so bright. If you would be more there, that would help me, but you can't. Yeah, so I came to Dar, often transiting through Dar, not spending a lot of time here. Yeah, it's nice to revisit places you've been to before. It's nice to see the ocean. Nice to be near the Indian Ocean, yeah.
Very tired. No, he wants something. Not be tired. This one. How much for this? 6 pieces. It's 500. It's good. No, this one. 1,000. It's very much. No. It's a resumed price.
From Dar es Salaam, we catch another plane and make our way north to Nairobi, in Kenya. Good morning from Nairobi. Okay, had another bit of a rest.
Good rest.
And what are we doing today?
We're going to Kibera.
All right, let's do it. Nairobi is one of the largest cities in Africa, and it's also home to one of the biggest slums in the world. Kibera Slum is located in the heart of Nairobi, and we meet up with one of my dad's old friends, a guy named Allan Chola, to show us around.
This is Kibera.
Yeah.
Kibera slums. Kibera, the well-known Kibera all over the world, the biggest slum in Africa.
Yeah.
And so we're standing right inside Kibera now.
Yeah.
Yeah. This could be about 2 million people living in this region. Kibera originally started when the Nubians were given land. Nubians from South Sudan were given land to settle here by the government. Then it grew slowly. It grew to what we have now. The reason why so many people settled here is because it's closer to the city center, closer to the industrial area where we have industries that do manufacturing. And so it's really like a walking distance from here to some of those areas. We have a good population from outside Nairobi.
Oh yeah.
You know, majority of them are from
countryside,
Western Kenya, some from Central, and a few from other sections. But majority of the dwellers here are from Western Kenya. Yes.
Oh yeah.
There's cheap housing available here. And majority of the people who come here are really looking for cheap places to stay in. Now, because it has grown to that level, the population is almost half of the population in Nairobi. The population here, and so because of that, you know, you have a lot of people concentrated in one area who need food, who need shelter, who need just basic amenities, you know, and they can't afford them. You know, even that shelter that we are calling cheap, some of them can't even pay that rent. It's just a number of people living in one concentrated area, and they're so poor they need help.
Are there any big stores here, or is it mostly just street vendors, small shops?
They're just street vendors and shops, small shops. You can't afford to keep a big shop here. But in a way, they're making a living. They're earning a living. And in fact, you'll be surprised that most of them, you know, they work in groups where they kind of have. They save together and grow each other, giving each other loans.
I suppose there's, I don't know, it seems like there would be very little tax going out of here to government. Income tax, other kind of tax, property tax.
Oh yes. Like even rent. How do you get rent tax?
So it's
so there's very little that goes back to the government from here. Because like I told you, even electricity, for instance, the connections that are there, they are illegal connections. So a lot of it goes to people's pockets. So for you to get a connection, you have to pay this group of people who are managing this area. And
so all those wires coming from that electrical pole.
Yes.
a lot of that might be just plugged in illegally.
It's not a lot. I mean, all of it is illegal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's some middlemen or some middle group that are somehow earning money on it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Even water supply.
Oh yeah.
Water, you can't meter the water here because
Right.
they won't give you charge water.
Just provide it and that's it.
By now, we're about 2/3 of the way through our trip, and we've traveled to a number of places that my dad visited by himself throughout the years. Many of these trips took place after he had a family, and when I was a kid, I often found it tough to say goodbye to my dad as he headed off on a trip to one corner of the world or another. I've always wanted to talk to my dad about this, and this seems like a good opportunity. So we find ourselves a quiet garden to have a little chat.
And I mean, I recollect, my recollection is that you weren't around a lot of the time. You were traveling. Now we've been revisiting a couple of these places and talking about the experiences that you've had at some of these places, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of great experiences that you've had around Africa as a married man with kids, but you've been traveling without the kids, without the family. And yeah, I mean, if I said that it wasn't a bit hurtful, it would be disingenuous. How does that make you feel?
If you are hurt by me talking about things that I did as a father without the children there, or as a single person before I had any children, that is a bit, I guess, that's your problem, not mine. No, I'm just kidding a bit, but that is, what can I do about that? Those are all my experiences. I've said many times how both the life in Zambia and life in Sudan was so wholesome and so, I don't like to use warm and fuzzy, but it was so complete that we could do those all together. That's what you should listen to. That's what you should make a note of.
Okay.
And not be looking for necessarily, here he's mentioning again something he did without us there. You know, it's just.
But we're going to those places. It's part of why we're doing this trip.
Going to which places?
We're traveling to the places that you were at without us.
Right, but then if you'll be hurt by that, I don't know what to do with that.
It's okay to be hurt, I think. It's okay to. I'm trying to learn about it.
Yeah.
And I'll have my own.
Yeah, but I don't think you should be hurt by me relating.
My own emotional journey.
Okay.
As I go on this, I want to share that with you as well.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder, did you ever consider doing other work that wouldn't have involved so much travel?
Well, we had always dreamt of doing farming, okay? And so we did farm for 3 years in Swan River, but it became financially very difficult. And we could see that this would be a very, very long, hard stretch to make this farm financially viable.
Yeah.
It was going to require incredible hard work, not only on the farm, but off the farm, for me to somehow earn our living off the farm, probably in construction, so that we can enjoy the life of being on the farm. And
of course, one doesn't necessarily look at unlimited options. Kind of the options that we looked at was, well, doing construction work, doing farming, doing relief and development work.
Next, we meet up with Fred Isabwa, an old friend from Nairobi, to show us around a local marketplace.
200, 300, what do you think?
What? 850, that's shit. But negotiable.
It's of course negotiable.
Yes.
Ready? How much? If I'm buying from you, it would be what, 300?
Give that 400.
400? 400 is too much. 400 is too much.
Freddy.
Shut.
Shut, Freddy.
This is shut.
This one? 400?
Give me 750.
No, 400 would be low.
750 with my friend. No, you're my friend.
Okay, I think we go to check the next guy.
Give me 4.
Huh?
It's okay.
Now I'm giving you 4. Huh?
50 and 450.
No, you said 4, but now you're going again to 450.
Give me man.
Okay. But we have to have 100 first. He gives 100.
No, give me 100. He can't just
treat you. If he treats you, then we have to go to the police because we have Okay. Asante sana.
Karibu.
Tuonane.
You're asking about this one. Now see.
I think you're sure you should get a bigger one.
This one. That's a fitting style. That's a
fitting style, but some of us who have a big...
It was fitting, but now it's getting smaller.
Kitambi, we called it Kitambi.
But yeah, this big is boom. You have to have a bit of bigger shirt.
Slightly bigger.
Yeah, like me, I have a big one.
It was fitting. It was fitting
yesterday, but now you had too much ugali.
Now it's getting smaller. I have to look for the bigger one.
It's true. The shirts always get smaller.
Yeah. So I have to look for the bigger one.
For the last leg of our journey, we head west from Nairobi towards our final destination of Gisenyi in Rwanda.
Alright, we just picked up a little bit of roadside food, got some samosas. These are supposed to be some of the best samosas. Should we give them a try? Oh, not even a cheers. Just digging right in. Oh, hold on. Spicy. Kind of crunchy on the outside. Got great flavor. 7. I might give these, I don't know, these are like an 8 or a 9. These are really good. Roadside samosas in Kenya. Top shelf. Bread to kind of cut it down a little bit, right? How's the bread? What do you give that bread every time?
Well, when it was fresh, 8. Sounds good. 3 days old. 7.5.
This 2-day trek takes us past the Great Rift Valley in Kenya, banana plantations in Uganda, all the way to the rolling hills of Rwanda and the banks of Lake Kivu. Gisenyi sits on the Rwanda-Congo border, yet in some ways it seems a world apart from the conflict happening in the DRC. This is our last stop before heading home, so I sit down with my dad again and take a moment to look back on how far we've come. So we went up to Chingola, right? We went down through Lusaka, through Livingstone, Vic Falls, Bulawayo, Harare, Blantyre, Mount Mulanji, Tanzania, Dar, Nairobi. How are you feeling?
Tired, but Yeah, I wasn't sure how this was going to work. You know, I'm probably 3 times older than I was when I did this first time.
Yeah.
And all the vagaries of different food, different water, different weather, whatever, travel. I feel good.
It's a lot of places that we went through.
Yeah.
And it's a long journey.
Yeah, and we didn't kind of jet through these places. I mean, we took the plane a few times, but we took bus many more times than we flew.
Yeah.
Sitting and waiting in bus depots and black holes.
So, in your original trip, you started in the Congo, then you went through Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, back to the Congo.
No.
But in our trip, we started in Zambia, and now we're ending in Rwanda. We're not going into the Congo.
We didn't leave Congo, we did get back into Congo, that's right.
And right now we're sitting on the banks of Lake Kivu.
Yeah.
And the Congo is behind us here.
Yeah.
We're not going there.
Right.
Why not?
Insecurity, difficulties of traveling in the Congo, added costs. The place where I lived at in Congo was in Kasai. Kasai is right now experiencing incredible fighting. Some 3 million people are displaced and hungry, needing food. It's a war zone, so it doesn't seem like a place for us to be going at this time.
These 40, 50 years in Africa, in a lot of ways, represent your life's work. I mean, it's the work that you've been doing throughout your life. Since you were in your early 20s, now we're traveling, and when you put down, well, as you go through border crossings and stuff, you put down your profession, you put down retired.
I think I did it once.
You did
Felt like a doofus, but I did it once.
But you did
Mostly I continue putting down administrator. People don't. Yeah.
Maybe you want to argue this point, but my point is that in many ways this has represented your life's work, and in many ways this trip has been a chance to look back on your life.
Yeah.
Looking back on your life, what do you think of the work that you've done?
I feel, well, sometimes maybe a bit torn, but overall I would say I feel fulfilled.
Why do you feel torn?
Oh, torn by it would be nice to see more peace and more security and better life for the millions on this continent. That's what I mean by that. But on a personal level, you know, it took me quite a while to figure out what did I actually want to do with my life. And now looking back, I'm thinking that was great. It's not like it's over, but those were good decisions we made back then to give our life to what we have given it to. You know.
Do you think that you made a difference?
I think so, but it's minuscule. It's not a life, it's not a country-changing difference. I think, again, I don't think it's a matter of trying to philosophize and hide behind philosophical arguments, but I think the biggest difference is this is what I believe I was fitted for.
Yeah.
I don't take an argument saying that this is the only thing I could have done with my life, and if I did something else, I would have been a failure. No, I could have done various other things.
Yeah.
But I think this was a good fit.
Yeah.
Did I make a difference? Yeah, not a terribly big difference, but then I don't want to be some kind of a arrogant individual who thinks that life would somehow be terribly different for many people if I hadn't been around.
Yeah.
I did my part.
And now we're here. In some ways back where it all started, or at least being able to look towards where it all kind of started. And you may not come back here again.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I don't dwell on it that much. There's a lot of places I've been in the world. Some I'll go back to, some I won't. I'm rather thinking a little bit more along another line, and that is, what places do I really want to visit yet? You know? I don't want to spend the next however many years backing through life, looking back. I want to look forward. So yeah, that I may not come back here again. That don't want to see it carelessly, but I don't care. No, I don't. I do care, but it's not a driving force in my life.
Sitting there with my dad on the banks of Lake Kivu, looking towards the Congo, I thought of his life in Africa. The work that he's done, the life that he's lived as a father, a husband, and as a single man. I thought of that small town boy who made a big trip that altered the course of the rest of his life. My dad's not perfect. He's got flaws. He can be selfish. But making this trip with him, I feel like I really got to know him. I got to see a part of him I've never seen before. You know, I never really got an answer as to why he made that trip in the first place. But I did get a feeling of curiosity. My dad's curious, for better or worse. It leads him to strange and interesting places. His curiosity takes him away from his family. But you know what? It also takes his family with him to see a world that they would have never otherwise known had existed. And I can't really blame him for that.
You know, this has been, for me, an idea that I've, in the back of my mind, thought about for years. This has been a really special trip for me. To be able to go
where no man has gone before.
To be able to retrace that journey that you went on, more or less.
Yeah.
And visit places that you've lived and you've traveled and we've lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten to know you and see a different side of you that I've always kind of been curious about.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been special.
For me too.
Love you, Dad.
Love you too, son.
Roll credits.
Are you done?
Yeah, I can cut.